Hi, I'm Hendrik and today I'm making a spelt bread with Belgian beer and pumpkin seeds. So spelt bread is one of my favorite, breads really. It's such fantastic flour to use and I'm going to be using half and half mixture of white spelt flour and whole grain spelt flour, and I find this makes the perfect dough for beginners. And obviously spelt dough in itself is really tasty, but adding a nice dark Belgian beer, and by chance I have a Belgian beer called Straffe Hendrik. It's a really nice make of Belgian beer. It's brewed in Bruges, has my name on it, so it has to be good. But yeah, it's a really nice dark beer, and this will add loads of flavor to our bread. And then finally, we'll coat it with pumpkin seeds, and pumpkin seeds just give fantastic flavor to bread, especially when it's coated in pumpkin seeds. So all in all, very easy recipe, really tasty bread, especially good with really sort of, strong flavors and hearty food like sausages or a nice, blue cheese. So yeah, I'll be showing you how to make it now. So first things first, we have to heat up our beer. As always with bread making, you have to heat up your liquid to blood temperature about for the yeast to work properly. So just put it into a saucepan and try not to heat it up too quickly, just at sort of a low temperature until it's warm. You can just test it with your finger to see. So obviously I'm using spelt flour and I'm using half and half, 250 grams each of whole grain spelt flour first. This really gives a lot of flavor to the bread, and even though it's whole grain, it actually has a really fantastic light texture. That's what I really love about spelt flour, it's so incredibly light. But sometimes using only white flour I find makes it too light, so that's why half and half I think is a perfect dough for beginners for making bread. So another 250 grams of this white flour. So another dry ingredient, salt. I'm using sea salt. Just about a heaped teaspoon. It can be rough sea salt, what I'm using here, that's no problem. There we go. 1 sachet of fast action dried yeast. Can also be other types of yeast, of course, but this is just really handy because it really works incredibly fast. And 1 sachet is enough for 500 grams. Roll your dry ingredients into a bowl and just mix with a fork for a few seconds. Our beer is ready, it's nice and warm, and it's 350 mils of warm beer, so just the same as you would use for water or another liquid. So I'm using a fork to mix it in. I always find this helps whenever you're kneading bread by hand, because it keeps your hands a wee bit cleaner. So just pour it in, and then you just mix it. So whenever your dough comes together into a ball like this, you can just use your hands, get some flour on it, and then you just put it on a work surface. Now there's obviously many ways of kneading your dough. There's sort of the classical one of stretching it away to make your gluten stretchier and to develop the gluten in the bread. And you can also just roll it. And so some people even go as far as using their whole arm for it. But I just like very easy sort of alternating hand movement. Both hands just for 5, maybe 10 minutes depending on the bread until it's nice and soft. So after 5 or 10 minutes, your dough is quite nice and smooth, and you just put a bit of flour everywhere and just put it together into a nice round. And I've shown this a few times before, but just show it again. You just cup your hands under the dough like this to make a nice round. And then you just take your bowl, put some flour in, Take your beautiful loaf, place it inside, and then you're just going to cover that with a tea towel or whatever, and leave it to rise for an hour. We want some extra time for rising with this bread to really develop flavour. So it's been an hour now, and our dough has risen, a bit less than you would with sort of normal water breads. The beer does tend to do that, you know, to make the bread rise a bit less well, but it's still really good. So now we're going to take it out, put it back on the work surface. There we go. But it smells beautiful, really good flavour. And yeah, we're not going to really make anything complicated now. We're just going to put it back into shape and, well, deflate it first with our fingers. There we go. And then you just want to tuck the edges in. And we're making a round loaf. There we go. And yeah, just cup your hands under the dough as such. There we go, and that's basically finished for, well, letting it rise a second time, and then afterwards we'll go to the oven. But first we're going to coat it in pumpkin seeds. So here's the rest of our beer. You have to coat your dough in some liquid, either water, milk, or it can be beer, for your pumpkin seeds to stick. Otherwise they will just fall off when the bread is baked. So take your bread and face side down. Put it in a bit. There we go. And then take your seeds and just put them on the work surface like so. And you take your dough out. Ta-da. Try to be as careful as you can. It's a bit of a mess, but not too bad. And then you just put it on the seeds. Go. Now we're turning around. Have a look. And then when there's a few areas where you didn't get a lot of seeds on, just put the rest of the seeds on as much as you like, and then we're going to shape it again. So I've got all my pumpkin seeds on my lovely loaf here, and you just want to press it down again a bit everywhere so that it really sticks. And then, you know, you can obviously just turn it. A few will always fall down, that's okay. And whenever your bread is ready, you take some flour and we'll put it on this cutting board to rest for a second time so that it rises, and then we can put it in the oven. And you really want to flour this well because you will slide it on a hot baking tray afterwards. So that should be enough. And then yeah, you take your dough, put it on. And I like to flour in the top too. Makes it look quite pretty whenever it's baked. And it also prevents the tea towel to stick to it. So you cover this again, and we'll let it rise for 45 minutes, maybe up to an hour again, to really double it in size. And then it's ready to go into the oven. Let's have a look at our bread. It's risen really well and the oven is hot. And just before we put it in, I'm gonna score it. And I really like this one pattern, which is very easy to make. Just use a serrated knife and be quite gentle. And just score it along the four sides of the bread. Go. There we go. Now just take out your hot oven tray, like so, and slide your bread on. There we go. Whoop. And put it back in at maximum temperature. Which in my case is 250 degrees Celsius, but after 10 or 15 minutes when the bread starts to brown, I always turn it down to 200 degrees, and in total it should bake for about half an hour, maybe 35 minutes. So our bread is ready to come out of the oven now. And here it is. A beautiful loaf, really fantastic. Now we just have to put it on a cooling rack. And we'll let it cool down for about half an hour. And then it's ready to eat. So here I've got a slice of our finished bread. It's really fantastic. The beautiful pumpkin seeds, you know, on the outside. Really, really crunchy crust. And very soft in the middle. I've got some beautiful Dorset Blue cheese here, which we got at Neil's Yard in London whenever we were there on a trip. So I'm going to try it now. This bread has such a nice deep flavour. The spelt flour, the pumpkin seeds, the beer. It really works so well with stuff like blue cheese. Or any other cheese would do well too. So you have to try this bread. It's really good. And it's really easy. It takes a bit longer though to make, but it's very easy, just like all the other breads. So please let us know how it went if you tried the recipe. And yeah, good luck. Bye.